to think about it, I think how crazy was I to do that, you know? But I'm glad I've done it.
I love to wear the sash my father wore.
I'll tell you a funny story, Jim. I was down around Cooper Street and there was all sorts of riots going. You walked away in and out of it when you're taxiing. I came across this incident where I actually knew the character. He was a bit of a local wino. So there he was standing. Someone came to him and said, look, you've got to do your bit. Handed him a petrol bomb and says, right, let's get in here. With a cigarette in his mouth and a bottle of wine in the other hand, he disorientated, he threw the bottle of wine. Proceeded to drink the petrol bomb. The petrol went all around him, cigarette ignited it, and up he went. There's a lot of people then, when they seen him on fire, jumped on him, and he ended up with broken ribs as well. So, I mean, the guy had much going for him that day.
With buses being turned into burning barricades, a unique black taxi service sprung up on the Falls Road and on the Shankill. Award-winning Belfast playwright Martin Lynch remembers taking a hand out of newly arrived Scottish journalist Hugh Jordan over the Black Hacks.
There's Protestant black taxis and they sit on Lower North Street and they only go up the Shankill. He says a few streets away, it's the Catholic black taxis and they only go up West Belfast. He says, aye, right. He says, Martin, I'm liable to get confused or lost or something. I says, no, there's no chance of that, Hugh. The Protestant black taxis, their headlamps are closer together at the front.
One of the defining moments of the Troubles was the tragedy of Bloody Sunday in Derry's Bogside. You wouldn't think there'd be much humour out of that day and the subsequent inquiry, but Derry man Jerry Anderson recounts one witness's testimony.
There's one particular guy who was testifying. He was under fire, you know, and there were people running around all over the place, and he was terrified for his life. And he saw his auntie coming around the street, and she was an elderly lady, so I think he just kind of crawled over and he grabbed her. And he used her to cross the road. And somebody said, you grabbed your Aunt Ina? He said, yes. I didn't think they would fire at an elderly woman. Do you know what I mean? So this guy, you know, it's like grabbing your granny, you know, going across like this.
The army on the streets disrupted normal life with the endless road checks and body searches. Even babies lost their bottle at times. And having a quiet pint in the pub could be just as perilous.
In 1969, the first British major on the Falls Road decided to call into a pub called the Old House, Albert Street actually. Major comes in, he goes up to the first guy and he says, excuse me sir, could you identify yourself? This guy takes out his driving licence. Yes, John McCann, 5 Lady Street, such and such. Goes the next guy. Excuse me sir, I wonder could you have an identification on you please? This guy takes out his dole card, says and such. I'm sorry for disturbing you, have a nice pint, thanks very much. Comes the next person, he was Hughie Dargan, a great character in the Falls Road. Excuse me sir, I wonder could you identify yourself? Who has his pint? He looks up at the mirror. Yes, that's me, definitely. That's me.
Life was dangerous and fickle, and sometimes not at all funny. Remember when Friday night was known as Jellig Night? John Linehan remembers the night when he and his wife Brenda both narrowly escaped death.
I never lost consciousness. I knew the bomb went off, but Brenda was on my right-hand side, and I was feeling about for her. I could hear her screaming, but I couldn't find her, and then I just went down and I felt her hand, I grabbed her hand, and I held on to her for grim death because she had my wallet. So, and I said, look, come on. And although it was totally black, and you know you couldn't see it, but you could see the actual darkness. And I just took one step forward, and there was no floor there. So me and her ended up on the ground floor. We were the first two pulled out. You know, the soldiers had come along, and that was it. But
and still, you kept people laughing throughout the Troubles. How important was humour in those black and bleak and dark days?
It was very, very important. Like when I was on stage for 45 minutes or whatever it was, people, and it didn't matter what side, Protestant, Catholic, it didn't matter. They just enjoyed it, and then had to go back home through the dark streets or
But it lifted people, didn't it? It lifted their spirits. Having a laugh. It really...
And you could slag both sides, you know. Slag the pros, slag the takes. They didn't care. They loved it.
The Troubles made many families prisoners in their own homes, but others chose not to pass up the opportunity to go out and enjoy themselves. Life went on in the clubs and bars despite the constant danger of being caught up in one of the many bomb scares which plagued the province.
I worked in Lavery's bar during the Troubles, but one night there was a band on. The singer, what he used to do would get drunk and then not be able to stand. What the band decided to do was they put his microphone stand, put the leg of it up his trousers.
I'm here all night, boys. Next one's a great number, you'll love this one. It's from the great, the wonderful Neil Young. Neil Young, folks. Boom!
So we went ahead and we evacuated the whole building, checked the toilets, checked our seats, did everything else.
God's sake, lads, it's forgot about me!
We locked the building up.
Lads!
About half an hour later, the police gave us the okay. So as I opened the doors, I started walking up the stairs to the 3rd floor. And as I further went up the stairs, then I realised, my God, we forgot somebody. So at the top of the stairs, there, staring down at me, was the singer of this band.
The Ulster Workers' Council strike of May 1974 saw the loyalist paramilitaries attempting to bring the province to its knees. During the 11 days of the strike, there were food shortages and widespread power cuts.
During the 1974 Ulster Workers' Council strike, I was down here in a pub having a pint, and there was a power cut. The pub was plunged into darkness. There was 2 ladies sitting beside me, and I overheard one saying to the other, "Oh, sod them, we'll go home and watch the TV in the dark."
By commandeering many petrol stations, the UDA could pick and choose who got fuel and who didn't.
I was hoping to get some petrol for myself and also for a young Catholic couple that lived nearby. And whenever my turn came, this called me over to the table where this big brigadier was sitting, and he said to me, "What's your name?" And I said, "McCautry." He said, "What?" I said, "McCautry's my name." He said, "Are you anything to Elaine, the go-go dancer?" And I said, "Yeah, that's my daughter." And he turned around to the man behind him, he says, "Give this lad whatever he wants." When I was walking out, they were all looking at me suspiciously, all these guys. You could say, this fella must be the top man of the whole place.
Keep on running, keep on hiding.
It was from here that the Orange and Black, the Royal Black Preceptory, were banned from walking down the Lower Ormer Road in the early 90s, but it was during a marathon when a commentator really put his foot in it.
In the mid-90s, the marathon was dominated by runners from the African countries, and I, who was doing the link job at Maysfield, turned around and said, "This will be the only black man to cross the Ormo Bridge this year."
Mid-1980s, I used to regularly on a Saturday come down to the bar behind me, which was known as the Sports Bar then. And this car, obviously stolen, came speeding down Waterford Street behind me. And the car went crashing through the rather large side door. Well, as you can imagine, it was pandemonium. The ceiling came down, there was tables everywhere, the lights went off, and after it there was a really eerie silence for about 3 or 4 seconds until one individual called out, "Taxi for Kelly." Absolutely priceless.
Sometimes I wonder what I'm gonna do, but there ain't no cure for the summertime blues.
What's with all the cameras? You don't work for DHSS Sunday. Is anybody here doing the double? Come on, there must be one Catholic in the place. Who's doing the double?
John Linehan not only survived the bomb, his May McFetridge act was going down.